Stepping into other people's business can be like stepping into that nasty mess a dog left over on the sidewalk. Stinky stuff. So how do we stay in our own? Let's get down to business, ladies and gentlemen. Covey teaches a concept that has had a great impact on me and my family: circles of influence and circles of concern. For those of you who don't know, Stephen Covey is the author of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. In it, he discusses how we can live a life of empowerment and impact. He shares that there are a slew of ideas, events, and people to which we get exposed on a daily basis. My neighbor's getting a divorce, there's starving children in Africa, and some politician is having an affair. If I'm exposed to these issues and concerned about them, then they lie within my circle of concern. But can I really do anything about them? Do I have the power to really affect their outcomes? If I'm honest with myself, I know that I don't. Also in my circle of concern is the diet that my family eats. Now, being the family chef, I have tremendous power to influence what goes into our mouths. Accordingly, this also falls within my circle of influence. The circle of influence includes everything over which I have control or can affect change, such as my mood, what charities I support, or how I vote in an election. Stephen Covey says that when I focus my energy on affairs of the world that I cannot influence, my circle of concern expands, while my circle of influence shrinks, as I have only so much energy to expend. It's also true that the more I invest in my circle of influence, the more it expands, and the more effective I am in the world. And the question is, do I want to be a concerned citizen or an influential one? When we're hanging around that part of our circle of concern over which we have no power, we tend to feel angry, sad, or frustrated. Byron Katie says that's because we're mulling around in other people's business and have totally abandoned our own. We tend to think that anything we care about or that affects us is our business. But when Katie talks about business, she means those things over which you have power, control, or influence. So, for example, if I'm considering registering to vote in the next American elections, I'm in my business. But if I believe the thought that all American expatriates should register to vote, then I'm way in other people's business. Other expats have free will to register or not, but I don't have free will to register for them. But you might ask, what's the big deal with being in other people's business? The challenge lies in how leaving my circle of influence makes me feel. I leave my business and go jumping into other people's lives, and when I abandon myself, I feel lonely, empty, and lost. The other challenge is that because I've left my circle of influence, I'm no longer in a place of power. Here I am, a weakling, a victim. So how do I get back into my empowerment? By turning my judgments of others right back to myself. Let's say, for example, that I've been hearing all about my neighbor's divorce. They're fighting all the time and the kids are really upset about losing their family unit. I happen to watch the situation from the outside and have all sorts of opinions about the marriage and whether the couple should stay together. Let's say I think the guy is a really great husband and father and that the woman's being too rash in leaving him. I'm getting all riled up thinking that she shouldn't leave her husband. It feels like my business because these are my neighbors and they're in my community and I care about the kids and their future. But let's be real. I'm not the one who has to live with this marriage day in and day out. And I don't really know all the information, no matter how nosy I am. And I'm not the one who's going to have to make the decision to stay or go at the end of the day. I'm totally out of my business. I've divorced myself from my circle of influence entirely. If I want to shift back into my circle of influence, using the work of Byron Katie is a great place to start. I noticed that the thought, my neighbor shouldn't leave her husband, makes me feel frustrated, angry, and alone. My body gets tight, I lose focus, and I want to shut down. Without the thought, though, I feel much more relaxed and present in my life. I can focus on my family and my husband. So if I think my neighbor shouldn't leave her husband, I can get back to my business by focusing on how I can improve my own marriage. Byron Katie calls this a turnaround. I take the original thought and turn it around to myself. I shouldn't leave my husband. I can think about all the ways I might tend to my husband's needs, like saying goodbye when I leave the house or offering him hot tea when he's under the weather. It's easy to wallow in my circle of concern and judge my neighbor's behavior, but it's also disheartening. Although focusing on my own actions as a wife requires a lot more work, I feel stronger here. I'm in my circle of influence. The more I take the judgments I have of others and point them back to myself, the more I learn about how I can create meaningful change for the better. And with every empowered action I take, the more I increase my circle of influence. I recommend you try turning judgments around when you're feeling disempowered. And if you need assistance, I'm here. Send me an email and we'll book a time to inquire together, either in person or via phone or video conference. Learn more at chanamason.com. In the meantime, I wish you many little joys.